A day after we moved into our new apartment, the previous owner called me. She said, "I forgot to turn off the hidden security camera, and I accidentally saw what your husband was doing while you were at the grocery store. Come see me immediately, and whatever you do, do not tell him a word." Hello. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Enjoy the story. Just 24 hours before that phone call, Maya Sterling had been the happiest woman in the city. In the enormous living room with 13-foot ceilings, the air carried the scent of fresh plaster, oak flooring, and a faint trace of dust left by the movers. Every step echoed with the hollow resonance unique to old, monumental buildings. Meridian Commons had stood since the 1950s, resembling an unshakable fortress shielding its residents from the chaos beyond its walls. Maya stood by the towering window overlooking the courtyard, gently swirling a glass of champagne. The bubbles shimmered gold in the sunset light. At 41, she felt like a young debutante invited to the grandest ball of her life. Andre stepped up behind her and wrapped his arms around her shoulders. His hands, strong and assured, the hands of a contractor accustomed to shaping spaces to his will, rested heavily and securely on her. "Well," he murmured, kissing her temple, "we did it. 12 years, Maya. We've been working toward this day for 12 years. Maya closed her eyes and took a sip. The champagne tasted crisp and sharp. "I still can't believe it," she confessed. "When Elena agreed to sell us this place, I thought it had to be some mistake. Apartments like this aren't sold, Andre. They're handed down through generations. Money settles any inheritance dispute," Andre replied with a chuckle, turning her to face him. "Elena wanted to leave the city and forget the past. We just helped her move on. Now this is our home, our fortress. No more rented spaces. No more judgmental neighbors. You own the finest boutique in the city. I'm a respected contractor. We earned our place at Meridian." He tapped his glass against hers, the sound ringing clear and lingering in the empty room. Maya studied her husband. At 45, he looked even better than on their wedding day. The streaks of gray at his temples only added to his presence. He had pulled her out of depression after the tragedy with Lucas, when her brother died, as the doctors clinically described it, from burnout brought on by his reckless lifestyle. Andre had handled everything: the funeral, the debts, even the sale of her parents' old beach house to cover Lucas's loans. He had been her anchor. "To our new life," Maya said softly, "and may the past stay outside these walls." They drained their glasses. In the bare apartment, without even curtains hung, it felt as though time itself had paused to grant them a fresh beginning. Andre strode across the room like a man surveying his kingdom, straightening a painting propped against the wall. "They're delivering the office furniture tomorrow," he remarked in a practical tone. "I'll stop by the job site in the morning to check on the crew. You can start unpacking the kitchen." "Of course," Maya nodded. "Just don't be late. I don't want to spend our first dinner here alone." Andre flashed the same confident smile he used when closing deals. "I always come back, Maya. You know that." The next morning began not with sunlight warming her pillow but with the sharp buzz of her phone on the nightstand. Maya blinked awake and reached for it. The screen displayed the name Elena Vane. She frowned. The sale had closed a week earlier. The keys had changed hands. The payment had cleared. What could possibly remain to discuss with her brother's widow, a woman who had avoided the family ever since the funeral? Andre was already gone. His side of the bed felt cold. Maya sat up, slipped into her robe, and answered the call. "Hello, Maya. Don't interrupt me, and don't ask questions." Elena's voice was brittle, like dry leaves scraping across pavement. There was no panic, no hysteria, only deep exhaustion. "Are you alone?" "Yes. Andre left for, I don't care where Andre is. Listen carefully. Freedom Park. The bench by the Memorial Plaza. 40 minutes. Come alone. If you tell Andre a single word, I'll disappear, and you'll never know what you truly bought." "Elena, what are you talking about?" "We bought the apartment. The documents are with the lawyer." "You bought the walls, Maya. I sold you what was inside. I'm waiting." The line went dead. Maya lowered the phone slowly. The chill from the hardwood floor crept through her feet. She dressed without thinking, grabbed her purse, and left without even making coffee. The park was nearly deserted. The memorial flame flickered against the breeze. The faint scent of gas mingled with the dampness of autumn. Elena sat alone on a bench, wrapped in a shapeless grey coat. She looked a decade older than she had at the cemetery. Maya approached, holding her composure. Owning a luxury boutique had taught her how to maintain a calm expression even when anxiety twisted inside her. "Hello, Elena. What's with all the secrecy? If you left something in the apartment, you could have just said so." Elena lifted her gaze. The emptiness in her eyes sent a shiver down Maya's spine. She didn't return the greeting. Instead, she reached slowly into her deep coat pocket, bag and pulled out a tablet in a worn case. "Sit," she ordered. Maya lowered herself onto the bench, careful their coats didn't brush. "I didn't forget anything, Maya. I forgot to turn off the surveillance system. Andre thought I was a fool who only knew how to spend Lucas's money. But I always knew he didn't trust me, so I installed cameras everywhere, even in the pantry." "Why are you telling me this?" Maya felt irritation flicker through her shock. "You and Andre never liked each other, but spying. Just watch." Elena tapped the screen. The footage appeared in black and white, slightly grainy but clear enough to recognize the setting. It was the pantry in their new apartment. The door was partly blocked by boxes, construction debris Andre had promised to remove in a few days. In the corner, the timestamp glowed. The recording was from 40 minutes ago, the exact time Andre was supposed to be at his job site. On the screen, the pantry door opened. Andre stepped inside the narrow, windowless room. He wore the same shirt Maya had seen that morning. In his hands was a plastic tray, a bowl of oatmeal, a slice of bread, a glass of water. Maya frowned. "What is he doing? It's just storage in there." "Keep watching," Elena said sharply. Andre walked toward what looked like a solid wall. He crouched, set the tray on the floor, then straightened and folded his arms. It wasn't the posture of a caring man. It was the stance of a guard. From the darkest corner of the pantry, where the light barely reached, something shifted. A pile of rags began to move. Maya leaned closer. The rags rose. It was a man, thin, unshaven, tangled hair hanging over hollow eyes. His clothes were filthy, hanging off him like scraps. He crawled forward slowly, as if each movement caused pain, or as if he had forgotten how to stand upright. He reached the tray and seized the bread with trembling fingers, devouring it without lifting his head. Andre spoke. There was no audio, but Maya recognized the movement of his lips, the cold, superior expression she had seen when he dealt with stubborn contractors. He nudged an empty plastic bottle toward the man with the toe of his boot. Then he turned, walked out, and locked the door firmly behind him. The man remained alone. He lifted his head slowly, and looked straight into the hidden camera lens. Maya stopped breathing. The park disappeared. The wind, the distant traffic, the memorial flame, everything faded. There was only that face on the screen. Those eyes. She would have recognized them anywhere. The deep-set shape inherited from their father. The faint scar above the left eyebrow from when he fell off his bike as a child. "This isn't possible," Maya whispered. Her voice cracked into a rasp. "We buried him 12 years ago. It was a closed casket." Andre identified the body, she added weakly. "There was paperwork." She looked at Elena desperately, searching for pity, for any sign this was a cruel manipulation. But Elena's gaze was merciless. "A closed casket is very convenient, Maya. Especially when your husband is skilled at solving problems, and your brother owed dangerous people a lot of money." Maya turned back to the screen. The man in the pantry finished the oatmeal and glanced around like a trapped animal. Lucas. Her brother Lucas. The man she had mourned every Sunday at church. Alive. Alive in her own apartment, behind the wall where she had toasted with champagne just yesterday. "The apartment was never truly mine," Elena said quietly, leaning closer. "I wasn't the owner. I was the warden. Andre bought it 12 years ago through a shell company and placed me here for one purpose, to feed a ghost. He paid me to keep Lucas dead to the world, but alive for him." Elena pressed the tablet into Maya's numb hands and stood. "Now you're the owner, Maya. It's your turn. She walked swiftly toward the park exit, leaving Maya alone with the image of her dead brother licking crumbs from a plastic plate in her new pantry. Maya didn't remember driving home. Traffic lights blurred into streaks of color. Horns sounded distantly. One thought pounded in her skull like a heartbeat: he's there. He's there. He's there. She entered the apartment, forcing herself to breathe evenly. The key turned with a soft click that now sounded like the snap of a trigger. The hallway was silent. Too silent for a home concealing a human being. Andre stepped out of the kitchen, drying his hands on a towel. He wore the same shirt. He smiled, warm, relaxed, the smile of a husband pleased to see his wife. "You're back early," he said casually. "Thought traffic would hold you up. Want coffee? I just brewed some." Maya made herself smile. Her face felt like hardened plaster, ready to crack. "No, thanks," she replied steadily. "My head's spinning a little. Probably the weather. I'm going to lie down for half an hour." "Of course. Get some rest." Andre stepped closer and pressed his palm to her forehead. His fingers were warm. The fingers of a jailer. "You look pale," he murmured. "Maybe take an aspirin." "No. I just need to lie down." She moved past him into the bedroom, aware of his eyes following her. She closed the door quietly and leaned against it, her legs trembling beneath her. Against it, counting slowly to 10. She needed time. She needed him gone. 15 minutes later, Andre's phone rang. Maya held her breath and listened. "Yes, Mr. Thorne. Of course. I understand it's urgent. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Yes. I'm leaving now." Footsteps in the hallway. The jingle of keys. The heavy slam of the front door. The metallic click of the lock. Maya sprang into motion. She rushed into the hallway, hurried to the window, and carefully pulled back the curtain just enough to see outside. Andre's silver SUV rolled out of the driveway. She waited another full minute until it disappeared around the corner. Only then did she run to the pantry. The door was locked. It looked ordinary, white interior wood with a brass handle, but it wouldn't move. Maya yanked it once, twice. Solid. "Lucas," she whispered, pressing her ear against the wood. "Lucas, can you hear me?" "It's Maya." Nothing. Only the faint hum of ventilation behind the walls. She rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a thin paring knife, returned, and tried to force the lock. Useless. The mechanism was simple but sturdy. Then she remembered the video. Andre hadn't used a key. His hands had been empty. When he approached the door, he had done something else. Maya closed her eyes, replaying the footage in her mind. He had leaned down. Not toward the handle. Lower. Near the floor. She dropped to her knees. To the right of the door frame was a decorative grate covering the radiator, an old cast-iron piece painted the same white as the wall. Maya slid her fingers through the patterned metal. Dust coated her skin. Cold iron. Nothing obvious. "Think, Maya. You saw it." She tugged at the grate. It shifted with a faint creak but didn't detach. She pushed harder, sliding it sideways, and then she saw it. Behind the radiator pipe, recessed into the plaster and painted over, was a small metal lever. Almost invisible. A concealed slide bolt. Anyone could live here forever and never notice it. Maya pushed the lever. A dull internal click echoed inside the door. The lock released. She stood slowly, wiped her damp palms on her jeans, and turned the handle. The door swung open. The smell hit her immediately: stale sweat, unwashed fabric, old smoke. The cheap tobacco Lucas used to smoke in college when he fancied himself a tortured intellectual. The scent pulled her back 12 years in an instant. "Lucas," she stepped inside. Her hand searched the wall for a switch. A weak bulb flickered on overhead. The space was narrow and long, more like a corridor than a room. No windows. Shelves lined one wall, stacked with junk, paint cans, rolls of wallpaper, forgotten supplies. In the far corner lay a thin mattress covered with a grey wool blanket. Beside it sat the tray from the video, half-eaten oatmeal still in the bowl. But Lucas wasn't there. "Lucas," she called louder, no longer caring about neighbors. Silence. The blanket was rumpled, as if someone had just risen from it. Cigarette butts littered the floor. 4 walls. 1 door. Nowhere to hide. Maya tore through the tiny space, pulling boxes aside, peering behind shelves. Nothing. He couldn't have vanished. Then she noticed something near the mattress, a small plastic rectangle glinting in the dust. She bent and picked it up. It was a hospital ID badge from St. Jude's Medical Center. She recognized the design instantly. She had received one herself just a week ago during her checkup. Her hands trembled as she flipped it over. Sterling, Maya. Her full name. Her birth date. But the photograph wasn't hers. Staring back was Elena Vane. Her hair cut short, her expression wild and unfocused. Maya's stomach dropped. She checked the blood type printed below. AB negative. Maya was B positive. Elena was O positive. AB negative had been Lucas's blood type. The badge was dated yesterday. Her name. Elena's face. Lucas's blood. The hospital's official stamp. Why would Andre need a false hospital ID in her name, carrying her brother's medical information and his widow's photograph? Maya clenched the badge until the plastic dug into her palm. This wasn't only imprisonment. This was preparation. Lucas wasn't just hidden here. Andre was creating something, an identity, a medical record. Or worse. The apartment fell into suffocating silence. Then she heard it. A dull, rhythmic knock. Not from the hallway. Not from outside. From the wall behind the mattress. Thump. Thump. Thump thump. Maya froze. She knew that pattern. When they were children, she and Lucas had tapped on the wall between their bedrooms when their parents punished them and sent them to separate rooms. 2 short knocks. 1 long. I'm here. He wasn't gone. He was deeper inside the building. Maya pressed her ear to the cold plaster. The knocking came again, faint and muffled, as if from beneath the floor or behind layers of concrete. Her heart pounded. He was alive. And Andre had built something far bigger than a locked pantry. Were shoved into place just as they had been. She wiped the dust from her face with trembling hands and forced herself to breathe evenly. From the hallway came the sound of drawers opening. Cabinets closing. Maya! Andre called again, his tone still light. Did you go out? She stepped out of the pantry, closing the door carefully behind her and sliding the hidden bolt back into place through the radiator grate. The mechanism clicked softly, sealing Lucas back into darkness. I'm here, she answered, walking into the kitchen. I stepped out for some air earlier. I must have left the pantry open. Andre stood by the counter holding a small white bakery box. He smiled as if nothing in the world were wrong. I noticed, he said casually. You should be more careful. This is an old building. Lots of hidden spaces. Their eyes locked for half a second too long. Maya forced a faint laugh. You sound like you're telling a ghost story. Andre tilted his head slightly. Aren't we living in one? Her heart pounded so loudly she was certain he could hear it. He stepped closer and brushed a speck of dust from her sleeve. His fingers lingered. You've been cleaning? He asked softly. Yes. Unpacking. In the pantry? The question was gentle. Too gentle. Maya shrugged. There were boxes. Andre studied her face, searching for cracks. She gave him none. Years of dealing with wealthy, difficult clients had taught her how to wear composure like silk. Finally, he smiled again. Good. I like initiative. He opened the bakery box and revealed her favorite eclairs. Chocolate glaze shining under the kitchen lights. I thought we should celebrate properly tonight, he said. Our first real evening in our fortress. Fortress. The word made her stomach twist. That sounds nice, she replied evenly. But inside, her mind was racing. Lucas had a flash drive. Proof. If what he said was true, that video was the only weapon powerful enough to destroy Andre. But it was also the chain keeping Lucas imprisoned. She needed that drive. She needed to see what was on it. And she needed to get Lucas out before Andre realized the hatch had been disturbed. Andre poured coffee as if nothing had changed. As if there wasn't a man buried alive beneath their feet. You seem tense, he observed. Just tired. From what? The question hung in the air. Maya met his gaze steadily. From finally getting everything we worked for. Andrei's lips curved. Careful what you mean by everything. A chill ran through her. He knew. Or suspected. Or was simply reminding her who controlled the board. That night, Maya lay beside him in bed, staring at the ceiling. Andrei's breathing was slow and even, the rhythm of a man without guilt. But she no longer saw her husband. She saw the guard in the pantry. The architect of debt. The man who had faked her brother's death, stolen her inheritance, and built a prison inside their home. Beside her, Andrei shifted in his sleep and murmured her name. Maya closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she would smile. She would kiss him goodbye. She would act like the devoted wife he believed her to be. And then she would begin dismantling the fortress from the inside. Whispered, her fingers tightening around the paper. I never made these payments. Andrei sighed as if deeply disappointed. You did, he said calmly. You just don't remember. That's a lie. Is it? He stepped closer. You signed a general power of attorney after Lucas died. You were in no condition to manage finances. Grieving. Fragile. You begged me to handle everything. Maya's mind flashed back 12 years, to sedatives, to sleepless nights, to documents placed in front of her with gentle reassurances. Just sign here, Maya. I'll take care of it. Elena spoke quietly. The account funded the apartment. Food. Supplies. Medical injections. Injections? Maya's voice cracked. Andrei shot Elena a sharp look. She flinched but continued. Sedatives. Sometimes stronger. When he got difficult. Maya's stomach twisted violently. You drugged him? Andrei's jaw tightened. Controlled him. There's a difference. He's not an animal. He was a liability. Andrei snapped. Then he exhaled slowly, smoothing his expression again. Maya, listen to me carefully. Everything I did to protect what we built. Your brother would have dragged you into bankruptcy. Prison, maybe. Apex wasn't real, no. But the people I used to pressure him? Very real. Very dangerous. I redirected that danger. I contained it. You created it, she whispered. He didn't deny it. Instead, he turned to Elena. You were paid generously to keep quiet. And I did, Elena shot back. For 12 years I fed him, cleaned him, watched him rot. You told me it was temporary. You said you'd resolve it. But now you want to move him. You applied for hospital access yesterday. She pointed at Maya. Using her name. Maya's breath caught. Move him where? Andrei's silence answered. Elena's voice trembled. He's a perfect match. For what? Maya demanded. Andrei looked at her with cold practicality. You've been on the transplant waiting list for 8 months, Maya. The room tilted. What? Your liver condition. Stage 2 cirrhosis. The boutique stress, the wine, genetics. You think I didn't notice? You think I didn't read your test results? I'm not dying, she whispered. Not yet, he replied evenly. But you will without a donor. The truth landed like a hammer. AB negative. Lucas's blood type. You were going to harvest him, she breathed. Donor, Andrei corrected. A controlled surgical procedure. Quiet. Clean. You would live. He would finally serve a purpose. He's my brother. He's an addict who destroyed everything he touched. And you destroyed him. Silence detonated between them. Elena suddenly stepped backward. I didn't sign up for murder. Andrei's eyes darkened. You signed up for money. Another knock echoed faintly from the pantry wall. 2 short. 1 long. Maya's heart shattered. Andrei heard it. His gaze flicked toward the pantry. Just for a second, but it was enough. You opened it, he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Maya didn't answer. Andrei moved fast. He grabbed her arm, fingers digging into her skin. You have no idea what you've done. She wrenched free. I know exactly what you've done. Elena darted toward the front door. I'm done. I'm going to the police. Andrei's voice dropped to a lethal whisper. If you walk out that door, you implicate yourself. She hesitated. Maya saw it, the web tightening again. No, Maya said firmly. He's right about one thing. We're all already implicated. Andrei stared at her. Measuring. Calculating. You think the police will believe you? He asked softly. A grieving sister who identified a body. A widow who took hush money. And a dead addict hiding in a crawl space? I have documents. Videos. Signed consent. Medical evaluations describing Lucas as unstable and violent. You forged them, Maya said. I prepared them. The calmness in his voice was more terrifying than shouting. From beneath the floor came another faint knock. Weaker this time. Time was running out. Maya made a decision. She stepped toward Andrei slowly, lowering her voice. You're right about something. He narrowed his eyes. I did sign those papers. I did trust you. She swallowed. But you made one mistake. Oh. You taught me how you think. Before he could react, she grabbed the heavy glass pastry box from the side table and smashed it into his temple. The crack echoed through the apartment. Andrei staggered, stunned more by surprise than pain. Blood trickled down his forehead. Elena gasped. Run! Maya shouted at her. Call the police. Now. Andrei lunged, tackling Maya to the floor. The air exploded from her lungs. He pinned her wrists easily. You ungrateful! A metallic clang erupted from the pantry. Andrei's head snapped toward the sound. Lucas was hitting the pipes. Hard. Repeatedly. The noise thundered through the old building's service tunnels. From somewhere down the hall, a neighbor's door opened. A voice called out, Everything okay in there? Andrei froze. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, growing closer. Elena must have run after all. Andrei looked back at Maya. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. You've destroyed everything, he whispered. No, she said, staring up at him with fierce clarity. You did. The sirens grew louder. Lucas kept banging. And the fortress Andrei built began to crumble. Bottom of the page. Victor collected the papers, stamped them with deliberate precision, and slid them into a leather folder. Effective immediately, he said smoothly. Congratulations, Mrs. Sterling. Mrs. Sterling. The title sounded different now. Not wife. Owner. Andrei stood, buttoning his jacket. See? Civilized people solve problems without drama. Maya gave him a faint smile. Of course. But inside her pulse was steady. Focused. They left the basement office and stepped onto the late afternoon street. The sky was turning gray, the city humming with ordinary life, cars passing, people laughing, unaware of the war that had just shifted direction. Andrei reached for her hand. She let him take it. You did the smart thing, he said quietly. We protect each other. That's how power works. She looked at him calmly. Yes. Protection. They walked toward the car. Halfway down the block, two police cruisers turned the corner. Andrei stiffened almost imperceptibly. The cars slowed. Then stopped. Two officers stepped out. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling. Andrei's grip tightened around her fingers. Yes. We need you to come with us. For what? Andrei asked smoothly. One of the officers glanced at a tablet. We received a report regarding unlawful confinement, financial fraud, and suspected medical coercion. Andrei's face didn't change. That's absurd. The officer turned to Maya. Are you safe? There it was. The pivot point. Maya slipped her hand out of Andrei's grasp. I am now, she said clearly. Andrei turned to her slowly. Not angry. Not yet. Just calculating. Maya, he warned under his breath. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. The screen was still glowing. Recording active. 2 hours, 14 minutes. I have a full confession, she told the officers. Including intent to perform a non-consensual organ extraction. For the first time in 12 years, Andrei looked surprised. You think that protects you? He asked quietly. She met his eyes without fear. No. The bank transfers protect me. He frowned. I went to the bank before meeting you at the office, she continued evenly. I froze the charity account. Reported unauthorized use. Filed identity theft documentation. The moment the funds were flagged, it triggered an automatic compliance review. Andre's jaw tightened. You said the one who pays gets more time than the one who pulls the trigger, she added softly. I made sure the payment stopped before you could move him. The officers stepped closer. Sir, we're going to need you to place your hands behind your back. Andre didn't move. His gaze stayed locked on hers. You planned this, he said. Yes. When? The moment you told me we were in the same boat. Elena emerged from a patrol car across the street, wrapped in a blanket, speaking to another officer. She avoided Andre's eyes. You turned her, he said flatly. No, Maya replied. You did. The handcuffs clicked around his wrists. As they guided him toward the cruiser, he leaned slightly toward her one last time. You think he'll ever be normal again, he murmured. After 12 years underground? The cruelty in the question was deliberate. Maya swallowed, but her voice didn't waver. He doesn't have to be normal. He just has to be free. The car door shut. Sirens flared briefly as the convoy pulled away. The street returned to ordinary noise. Maya stood alone on the sidewalk, the stamped deed folder clutched in her hand. Owner of the apartment. Owner of the cottage. Owner of the truth. But none of it mattered as much as the next step. She turned to the officer who remained. My brother is still inside, she said. There's a concealed hatch in the pantry floor. He's in the service crawl space between the walls. The officer's expression shifted to urgency. He spoke into his radio. Within minutes, additional units sped toward the apartment. As Maya rode back with them, her hands finally began to shake. Not from fear. From release. The fortress was no longer a prison. It was a crime scene. And somewhere beneath its floors, tapping faintly against old pipes, her brother was waiting for the sound of someone coming to set him free. Someone whispered. Andre stepped forward quickly, placing a protective arm around Maya as if shielding her from the sight. Please, he said gently to the neighbors, don't look. This is exactly what I've been dealing with. She found this man weeks ago near the dumpsters. She became convinced he was Lucas. I tried to reason with her. You're lying. Maya thrashed against the guard's grip. He faked the papers. He forged everything. Andre's expression crumpled with convincing anguish. Maya, we buried Lucas 12 years ago. You identified him. You signed the death certificate yourself. A murmur swept through the courtyard. Yes, I remember, an elderly woman nodded. Closed casket. Such a tragedy. Lucas lifted his head weakly at the sound of his name. His lips moved. No one could understand the words. His eyes darted wildly from face to face, unable to focus in the sunlight. To the crowd, he didn't look like a victim. He looked insane. Sirens wailed in the distance. Maya felt hope surge for a split second, until she saw the white van turning the corner. Not a patrol car. A psychiatric response unit. Andre squeezed her shoulders. I called for help before things escalated, he murmured close to her ear. You've been deteriorating for months. You set this up, she breathed. He didn't deny it. 2 paramedics stepped out of the van, followed by a woman in a grey coat holding a clipboard. Mrs. Sterling? The woman asked calmly. We received a report of acute delusion and self-harm risk. That's not true. Maya cried. Check the crawl space. Check the hidden hatch. He's been imprisoned for 12 years. The clipboard woman exchanged a look with Andre. She's been obsessed with that fantasy, Andre said quietly. It started with stress at her boutique. Then paranoia. She accused me of replacing documents. Of conspiring with notaries. Now she's hallucinating secret tunnels. That's because there are tunnels. Maya screamed. The neighbors shifted uncomfortably. Lucas let out a broken laugh, high, cracked, almost hysterical. It echoed through the courtyard and only made things worse. One paramedic crouched near him. Sir, what's your name? Lucas blinked. His lips trembled. Lou. Lou? Andre spoke smoothly. He can't even state it clearly. My wife fed him the name. It's tragic. The paramedic nodded sympathetically. Maya's resistance weakened as the guard tightened his hold. Look at the dates, she shouted. Look at the bank transfers. The fake charity, Second Life, check it. Andre sighed heavily. Second Life is a real foundation. I can provide receipts for animal rescue donations for years. And he could. Because he had created it. The woman with the clipboard stepped closer. Mrs. Sterling, we're going to take you somewhere safe for evaluation. I'm not crazy. Her voice cracked. But even to her own ears, it sounded desperate. Lucas was being guided toward the van as well, handled gently now, like a confused vagrant. Lucas, she sobbed. It's me. Maya. He looked at her. For a flicker of a second, recognition shone through the fog. He tapped his fingers weakly against the metal door. Two short. One long. I'm here. The van doors shut. Maya lunged forward, but a needle pricked her arm. The sedative spread fast, warm and heavy. Her knees buckled. Through blurring vision, she saw Andre catch her before she hit the ground, cradling her like a devoted husband. I've got you, he whispered. The courtyard dissolved into streaks of grey and gold. The last thing she saw was Andre looking down at her, not with anger, not with rage. With satisfaction. When Maya woke, the room was white. Soft restraints secured her wrists to the bed rails. A heart monitor beeped steadily beside her. The door opened quietly. Andre stepped inside, carrying flowers. No guards. No witnesses. Just them. He set the bouquet on the bedside table. You shouldn't have tried to outplay me, he said gently. Her throat was dry. Where is Lucas? Safe, Andre replied. Somewhere no one will ever find him. Again. Tears slid silently into her hair. You forged everything, she whispered. He smiled faintly. No. You signed everything. He leaned closer. You taught me something today, Maya. Never underestimate your opponent. He brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. Don't worry. The doctors say this episode can be treated. With the right medication, you'll stop seeing ghosts. He straightened his jacket and walked toward the door. Oh, he added casually, hand on the handle, and since you legally confessed, the police won't be investigating anything. They believe you were exploiting a homeless man during a psychotic break. Very sad. The door clicked shut. Maya lay staring at the ceiling. Somewhere, deep in the building, or maybe somewhere far away, pipes would never echo again. But as the sedatives pulled her back under, her fingers moved slightly against the restraints. Two short. One long. I'm here. Wouldn't want to leave loose ends. He had insisted on paying everything immediately. Generous. Responsible. Admirable. Not generous. Strategic. Maya's pulse steadied. Beatrice wasn't just a respected neighbor. She was part of the structure. Paid. Maintained. Loyal to whoever funded her comfort. The pantry door behind her felt different now. Not protection. Containment. Soft footsteps approached in the hallway outside. Two voices. Andre's, smooth, controlled. And Beatrice's, lower than usual, stripped of its theatrical warmth. She's unstable, Andre was saying. You saw it yourself. A pause. The faint scratch of a match lighting a cigarette. She came to you, didn't she? Andre continued. Another pause. Then Beatrice's voice, calm and practical. A frightened woman ran into my apartment. I did what any neighbor would do. Maya held her breath. Andre exhaled slowly. And where is she now? Silence. Maya's eyes darted around the small room. One door. No windows. Shelves lined with jars. The old secretary desk. Trapped again. The lock turned. Not opening, just a soft metallic test. Beatrice's voice came through the wood. She left through the back stairs before you arrived. A long silence followed. Maya could almost see Andre calculating. Weighing tone. Breathing patterns. Micro-hesitations. You're certain? He asked. My dear boy, Beatrice replied coolly, I've been acting since before you were born. If she were here, you would know. Another pause. Then Andrei's footsteps retreated. But they didn't go far. Maya heard the faint murmur of his voice again, lower now, closer to the entryway. Probably calling someone. Adjusting the net. Beatrice unlocked the pantry door and slipped inside, closing it behind her. Her silk robe was gone. She now wore a tailored suit. No cigarette holder. No theatrical softness. Did you hear? Beatrice asked quietly. Yes. Beatrice studied her face carefully. Not kindly. Assessing. You're smarter than he expected, the older woman said. Maya's stomach tightened. You're part of this. Beatrice did not deny it. For 10 years, she said calmly, Andrei ensured this building remained financially harmonious. In return, I ensured no one asked inconvenient questions about Unit 12. You knew about Lucas. I knew there was someone. That's the same thing. Beatrice's gaze sharpened. Don't confuse survival with cruelty, child. You took his money. Yes. For silence. For stability. Maya felt something inside her solidify. The last illusion cracking cleanly. There is no one here I can trust, she said quietly. Beatrice tilted her head. Trust is a luxury. Influence is currency. Maya's mind raced. If you're so practical, she said carefully, then you understand something. Beatrice waited. Andrei doesn't share power. He rents it. A flicker in the older woman's eyes. He paid you for 10 years. But what happens when he no longer needs you? Maya pressed. When the building is fully under his name. When the board rotates. When your community grants become liabilities. Beatrice said nothing. You think you're protected, Maya continued softly. But I just saw how he erased me. In one afternoon. The words landed. Because Beatrice had seen it too. The speed. The precision. The narrative. Control. Maya stepped closer. If I disappear tonight, he consolidates everything. The apartment. The cottage. My boutique through power of attorney. Eventually this building. Beatrice's jaw tightened slightly. You're not sentimental, Maya said. So let's speak your language. If he wins, you become expendable. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Beatrice asked, what do you propose? A door slammed somewhere downstairs. Andrei's voice echoed faintly in the lobby. Organizing. Maya swallowed. You kept unofficial ledgers. You know every payment he made. Off-book renovations. Utility coverage. Community grants. That's financial manipulation of a residential board. Beatrice's eyes narrowed. He thinks he owns the narrative, Maya continued. But you own the paper trail. And you? Beatrice asked. I have motive. I have visibility. I have nothing left to lose. That last part was true. Beatrice studied her for a long moment. Then, there is a safe in my study, she said quietly. Duplicate records. Originals with his signatures. Maya's heart pounded, but not with panic now. With alignment. And the service tunnels. Maya asked. Beatrice's expression shifted slightly. Old buildings remember everything. Where do they lead? To the adjacent commercial block. An exit behind the theater that used to be mine. Hope, small, sharp, dangerous, ignited. Can you get me there? Maya asked. Beatrice looked toward the door. Toward the hallway where Andrei still lingered. Yes, she said. But once you leave, you do not come back without leverage. Maya nodded. I'm done coming back without it. Beatrice extinguished an invisible cigarette between her fingers, a phantom gesture from a lifetime on stage. Very well, she said. Let's change the third act. Outside, Andrei's voice carried through the courtyard, calm and authoritative. Inside the hidden maid's pantry of the building matriarch, two women began quietly dismantling the script he had written for them. Standing beside her at the grave, soaked in rain, barely able to breathe through his grief. And yet, according to this document, He had signed a $100,000 promissory note that same afternoon. Secured by interest in family property. Maya's mind sharpened. "Mr. Mitchell," she said slowly, "what time was the board office open that day?" "Closed," the old man replied without hesitation. "Funeral was at noon. Board meeting was postponed. No official business conducted." Maya looked back at the signature. If the office was closed, then the note wasn't signed at the office. It was signed elsewhere. Or forged. She flipped the page over. Attached was a routing slip initialed by one person approving emergency intake of debt documentation. A. Sterling. Her breath went cold. October 12th. The day of the funeral. Andre had manufactured debt before Lucas was even declared dead. Or, her pulse spiked. Or Lucas hadn't been meant to die at all. The debt created leverage. The death erased the borrower. The property interest defaulted to next of kin. Which, through marriage and paperwork, meant Andre. Clean. Legal. On paper. Except for one problem. The signature. Lucas had terrible pen pressure control when anxious. He pressed too hard. Always tore slightly through the paper. Maya lifted the page to the light. The indentation marks were wrong. Too even. Too practiced. "That's not his hand," she whispered. Mr. Mitchell adjusted his glasses. "You certain?" "Yes." She grabbed another folder from memory, archived maintenance requests residents had filed years ago. She found one with Lucas's handwriting from 2011 when he'd complained about radiator noise. She placed them side by side. Different slant. Different spacing. Different L. "This is forgery," she said. Mr. Mitchell's jaw tightened. "That's felony territory." "It's more," Maya replied. "It means the debt was fabricated. Which means the financial motive for his suicide was fabricated." The old man stared at her. "Child, if you're right, I am." Her fear was gone now. Replaced by direction. Andre had built everything on documents. So she would dismantle him with documents. She photographed the promissory note. The routing slip. The comparison handwriting samples. The original 1953 blueprint showing the ventilation shaft and structural beam. Then she stopped. "No," she murmured. "Photos aren't enough." Andre could claim digital manipulation. She needed witnesses who feared liability more than they feared him. "The charter," she said suddenly. "Where is the original charter?" Mr. Mitchell shuffled to a locked cabinet and retrieved a leather-bound book. She flipped to structural amendments. Article 8, Section 3, any unauthorized alteration to load-bearing elements or common mechanical shafts constitutes grounds for immediate emergency assembly and suspension of ownership rights pending investigation. Suspension of ownership rights. Meaning, Andre could be legally barred from the property before any court case even concluded. And the vote required only a simple majority in emergency session if structural risk was documented. "Mr. Mitchell," she said carefully, "how many residents actually understand this charter?" The old man snorted. "None of them read past the wine budget." "Exactly." She rolled up the blueprint and tucked the promissory note into a document sleeve. "What are you planning?" he asked. Maya met his eyes. "An emergency assembly." "But Andre controls half the board." "Not when they think the building might collapse." Fear of scandal could be bought. Fear of structural failure could not. Insurance companies did not negotiate with ego. She checked the time. If Beatrice had called the private psychiatric service, they would discover the empty pantry soon. Andre would realize she escaped through the vent. He would search predictable places first. Police. Friends. He would not expect her to go for the foundation of his empire. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, "how fast can you ring the emergency bell?" The old man's eyes gleamed faintly. "Haven't used it in 20 years. "Good," Maya replied. "Let's wake the building up." He moved to the old mechanical alarm switch, an iron lever mounted to the wall, connected to a bell system wired through every corridor. "Once I pull this," he warned, "every resident gathers in the courtyard. Mandatory." Maya thought of Andre, confident on the steps. Of Beatrice, calculating balcony renovations. Of Lucas shoved into a van without plates. Pull it. The lever came down. A deep metallic bell began to roar through the meridian. Not a fire alarm. An assembly call. Windows flew open. Doors unlocked. Voices rose in confusion. Maya stepped into the corridor holding the blueprint tube in one hand and the forged promissory note in the other. For the first time that day, she wasn't running. She was summoning. At the meridian. Clean. Shaved. Dressed. Marcus didn't ask questions. He had seen the bruises on her hands. That was enough. By 7, Maya was no longer the woman shoved onto asphalt. She was composed. Structured. Deliberate. At 9, she met with a forensic document examiner her father had once used in a corporate dispute. She didn't explain everything, only enough. 2 signatures. Same day. Hospital coma. Funeral. Compare the stroke pressure. The slant. The terminal flourish. The examiner adjusted his loop and went quiet. Whoever wrote this, he said finally, tapping the forged power of attorney, was trying to imitate, but muscle memory betrays people. This downward terminal curve? That's habitual. Confident. Practiced. Not hesitant. Maya asked. No. The real writer hesitates before lifting. This one doesn't. Andre never hesitated. She requested a written preliminary opinion. Paid cash. Took it with her. By noon, the rumors had already spread through the Meridian Commons. Mrs. Sterling had vanished. Some said she'd been committed. Some said she'd fled. At 4:45, residents began filing into the courtyard for the annual meeting. Folding chairs. Board table. Refreshments no one touched. Andre stood near the front, immaculate in a charcoal suit, shaking hands. Controlled. Gracious. The picture of civic responsibility. Beatrice sat in the front row, regal, unreadable. At exactly 5 o'clock, a black sedan pulled up to the curb. Heads turned. Maya stepped out. Navy suit. Hair immaculate. Chin level. The murmurings started immediately. Andre's smile flickered, but only for half a second. Then it returned. Polished. My wife, he said warmly, loud enough for those nearby. I'm glad you're feeling better. Maya didn't respond. She walked straight to the front and placed 3 items on the folding table, the 1953 blueprint. The promissory note dated October 12, the forensic examiner's statement. Before this meeting proceeds, she said clearly, projecting like Beatrice once had, there is a matter of structural and financial fraud concerning Unit 12. The word structural made 3 homeowners sit straighter. Andre's eyes hardened almost imperceptibly. Maya, he said gently, this isn't appropriate. She unrolled the blueprint across the table. Gasps rippled outward. Mr. Mitchell stepped forward from the side, unexpected but solid. This, he said loudly, is the original 1953 load-bearing layout. Maya pointed to the ventilation shaft. This space, she said, was converted illegally into a sealed room. The main support beam was cut to install a concealed door. Someone in the back whispered, "Cut?" "Yes," she replied. And per Article 8, Section 3 of the Charter, an authorized alteration of structural elements mandates immediate suspension of ownership rights pending investigation. The word suspension hit like a dropped plate. Andre's calm thinned. "You're speculating." "No," she said. "I'm documenting." She held up the forged power of attorney. October 10, 2012. My brother was in a coma. Murmurs. She held up the promissory note. October 12, 2012. The day of his funeral. Signed while he was standing beside me at the graveside. Eyes turned toward Andre. Beatrice's posture shifted slightly. Not supportive. Observing. And here, Maya continued, lifting the examiner's letter, is a preliminary forensic opinion confirming the signatures were executed by the same habitual hand. Silence. Then, a slow clap. Not from the residents. From the entrance. Every head turned. An older man stood there, broad-shouldered despite his age, expression carved from granite. "Didn't expect to see you here, Sterling," he said. Andre went pale. Mr. Thorne, he managed. The name traveled like electricity. Victor Thorne stepped forward slowly. 12 years ago, Thorne said calmly, someone siphoned funds from my firm using a dead man's credentials. I always suspected the son-in-law. He looked at the documents on the table. And now, he added, voice lowering, I have confirmation. The courtyard was dead quiet. Andrei's mask cracked, not dramatically, but enough. A tightening around the eyes. A calculation failing. Right on cue, another car door slammed outside the gates. Marcus stepped in, supporting a thin man in a clean suit. Shaved. Unsteady, but lucid. Lucas. Alive. A collective intake of breath swept the courtyard. Lucas looked directly at Andrei. You told me I owed you, he said hoarsely. You said you saved me. Andrei said nothing. For the first time in 12 years, he had no prepared narrative. Maya stood very still. Call the city inspector, she said quietly to the board. Call law enforcement. Call whoever you need. Then she looked at Andrei. You built a system, she said. You just forgot one variable. And what's that? He asked softly. I learned from you. Sirens sounded in the distance. This time, they weren't private. Courageous call. I've been tracking Sterling for over a decade. He thought no one would ever check the records. But here you are, showing me everything. The crowd murmured. Andrei's composure cracked visibly. He stepped back, glancing at the black SUV parked aggressively at the gate, its engine idling like a beast ready to strike. Maya didn't flinch. She gestured to Lucas, who now stood fully upright, his presence undeniable. This man, she said, pointing at Andrei, hid my brother for 12 years. He forged documents, created false debts, and manipulated our entire building, all while pretending to be a benefactor. Victor Thorne tapped his cane sharply. I've seen a lot of criminals, Sterling. But playing puppet with your family? That's a new low. And you've left a paper trail. Andrei swallowed hard. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The residents' eyes were on him, watching, judging, realizing that their beloved benefactor was a manipulator. Maya stepped closer to the microphone. Neighbors, I am Maya Sterling. Unit 12 is my home. I am the owner of this property, and I am responsible for the safety and integrity of this building. This man, she gestured at Andrei again, violated every trust you placed in him. But thanks to Mr. Thorne, proper authorities are on their way. He has the resources to undo what Andrei attempted to hide. And my brother, Lucas, is alive, despite what you were told. Lucas lifted his chin, and the recognition in the crowd was instantaneous. Whispers turned into gasps, then murmurs of outrage. It's really him. My God, it's Lucas. Beatrice Hollowell stood abruptly, shrieking, This can't be true. I saw him buried. But her voice fell flat against the tide of evidence. Victor Thorne stepped forward, placing a hand on Andrei's shoulder, not gently, but with authority. Sterling, the moment you tried to hide crimes behind legality, you created a chain that can't be undone by your charm or money. You will answer for this. Everything is documented, and witnesses will corroborate. The black SUV's doors opened, revealing two more men, professionals in dark suits, holding briefcases. We've coordinated with the authorities, one said. Mr. Sterling, we're taking custody of all relevant documents and assets pending investigation. Andrei's face drained of color. His eyes darted between Maya, Lucas, and Victor. For the first time in 12 years, he was powerless. Maya lowered the floor plan onto the table. This building, our home, is safe again. And it will remain so. No hidden rooms. No falsified documents. No lies. The residents erupted in quiet, tense applause. Some shook their heads, unable to process the betrayal. Others muttered gratitude. Lucas stepped beside Maya, taking her hand. Thank you, he whispered. Maya looked out at the courtyard. Her city. Her building. Her family. No more secrets, she said softly, but firmly. Andrei was escorted out, his guards flanking him. Beatrice, humiliated but silent, sank back into her chair, watching her influence crumble. Victor Thorne gave Maya a final nod. You played it smart. You saved your brother, and you saved the building. But more importantly, his voice lowered, a rare smile breaking his stern expression, you reclaimed your life. The sirens in the distance grew louder. Enforcement was arriving. Papers would be examined, audits conducted, and Andre Sterling's empire of lies would be dismantled. Maya exhaled for the first time in 12 years. She had won. Lucas squeezed her hand. What now? She smiled, looking at the building that had been both a prison and a battlefield. Now? We go home. And we rebuild. The Meridian Commons, once a gilded cage, finally felt like home again. Looked fragile, but there was a light in his eyes that hadn't been there for 12 long years. He stopped beside Maya and Beatrice, smiling faintly. I can't believe this is real, he said softly. Maya squeezed his hand. It's real. And it's ours now. Nothing can take this from us. Beatrice cleared her throat, adjusting her scarf. Maya, I owe you more than I can ever repay. You turned the Meridian upside down and still showed mercy. I hope you know that. Maya smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. We all make mistakes, Mrs. Hollowell. The important part is making them right. Lucas opened the folder. I've started reviewing all the records Andre tampered with. With the board meeting coming up, we can make sure everything is set straight legally. No hidden debts, no forged documents. Everything transparent. From the benches, neighbors began to gather slowly. Some offered small smiles or nods. Others simply watched, respect and/or written across their faces. They had witnessed the fall of a man who thought power was enough, and the rise of someone who had courage, patience, and unshakable determination. Maya looked around at the Meridian, the building she had grown up in and fought so hard to protect. She breathed in the crisp autumn air. This courtyard, she said quietly to Lucas, is ours again. Not just ours, but everyone's. And we'll make sure it stays that way. Lucas nodded, relief and gratitude flooding his face. It feels like coming home, really home. Maya's gaze drifted to the windows where Andre had once ruled with fear. Now they were just windows, empty, powerless. She had reclaimed not only her family, but her dignity, her legacy, and the trust of her community. And for the first time in over a decade, the Meridian Commons felt like a safe, honest home. The leaves rustled gently, sunlight kissed the courtyard, and Maya knew that no lie, no theft, and no secret could take this peace away. She stood, brushing dust from her coat, and turned to Lucas. Come on, she said. Let's go home. Really this time. They walked into the lobby together, heads held high, ready to face a new chapter, one built on truth, justice, and the bonds that no one could ever break. Maya absolutely did the right thing. Truth and justice had to come first. Andre's care for the family was nothing but a manipulation, a way to control, profit, and destroy lives for his own gain. Letting him continue would have been complicity in his crimes, no matter how twistedly he framed it as concern. As for Beatrice, it's more complicated. She made a moral compromise for comfort and self-preservation, but she ultimately confessed when confronted with the consequences. Forgiveness might be possible, but only because she admitted her role and helped undo the damage. She isn't blameless, but she did take a step toward redemption. This story isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming power, identity, and truth. Maya's actions show that sometimes doing the hard thing, the morally right thing, is the only way to heal and protect those we love. Honestly, the way she navigated the legal, social, and emotional traps is brilliant. She didn't just expose Andre, she rebuilt a life for herself and Lucas, piece by piece. That's courage. If you want, I can break down each character's moral arc and who truly deserves judgment or forgiveness. It's fascinating in this story. Do you want me to do that?